So we're here today with our friend Rachel Benson. Rachel is a clinical therapist, actually a licensed clinical social worker who also is a therapist. Rachel, welcome to the Veterans Wealth Network.
Thank you guys. Thanks so much for having me here today.
So guys, Nick and I, when we started the Veterans Wealth Network, we wanted to try and bring value to everybody, things that were topical for active duty and veterans. And, Rachel's a good friend of ours, and she is specializing in treating veterans with PTSD. So we thought, what a great person to be our very first guest on the Veterans Wealth Network. Especially kind of relevant for something that Nick's going through right now. Nick, you shared with us earlier that you lost a buddy last week. Why don't you share with everybody kind of some of the things about this fine gentleman and maybe some things maybe that were weighing heavy on him.
No, I appreciate that, Barry. Unfortunately, I did lose a brother, one of my closest friends during my time in the Marine Corps. I mean, frankly, this is someone that did everything with, right? We hit the fleet at the same time. We ate chow together. We hung out in the evenings, on the weekends. He took me to his house to meet his family. And so it's tough. He was going through a lot, mentally, emotionally. And unfortunately, last week I got the news that he had taken his own life. And so this is someone that, as they usually are, one of the people that draws the energy of the room. They're someone that I mean, frankly, he was always the life of the party. Someone that was always smiling. I can't even imagine him without a smile on his face, frankly. But now his family's reeling from his loss, and as are we, his brothers and sisters in arms. That was a tough call to get, and it was an even harder one to deliver to others. And so the timing couldn't be more perfect for us to talk about something that, frankly, I see that many folks go through on a day-to-day basis. As we talk about larger issues like 22 a day, it's unfortunate that again, this one hits a little bit closer to home.
Yeah. So guys, Rachel, if I don't know, if you're one of the few dozen people that might have seen my videos before, I've interviewed Rachel before. Rachel, when I met Rachel, she was a live birth trainer. Like she was a therapist who helped new moms. And I've kind of watched her evolve. Rachel, why don't you share with everybody kind of a little bit of the journey, what led you to where you're starting to treat people with PTSD.
Sure. Thanks, Barry. And Nick, so sorry for your loss. It's so hard to lose a good friend, to lose anyone, but especially a good friend. And I think that one of the things that drew me to doing this particular type of therapy to help veterans specifically is that veterans and the military men and women that serve our country have always held a special place in my heart. My father was actually, he served in actually both the Air Force, and then it was a long time Army soldier. And so as the daughter of an Army and Air Force veteran, I've always, been very aware of the veteran population. And basically what happened was, as Barry said, I've been a therapist for many years, working with a lot of different populations, but about a year and a half ago, I heard about a new to me kind of therapy. Actually, they were doing a segment on the radio about it. And what struck me about it was specifically for PTSD, for people suffering with PTSD. And it was structured, short-term kind of therapy, which really spoke to me because I always really appreciate structure. I'm a bit of a rule follower, and I really like when things are kind of laid out for me in order. And so this therapy, caught my interest right away. And so I read a lot about it. And then this past year, I was able to actually take a full 2-day training in this specific type of therapy. And what I found was that, especially for It's specific for people with PTSD, and the recovery rate is really, really good. One thing that we say about PTSD is it's sort of a problem of non-recovery. People can go through traumas, and over time they feel better with treatment, but sometimes people just aren't recovering. And so that's what we look at PTSD like you've gone through this and time has passed, but you're still just not recovering. And so this particular model really, each week we do something specific to help you actually recover. And so seeing the evidence that the method really works really drew me toward it. And as I've started to implement it in my own practice, I'm seeing those great results. And so being able to, help veterans actually recover from the experiences that they've been through just really means a lot to me.
Yeah, so one of the things we were talking to Rachel about is, I'm a recovering drug addict, alcoholic. I've been sober almost 19 years, and I had a traumatic childhood. There were times when I was young where I didn't want to live anymore. Where I just, I thought to myself, I'd rather be dead than to feel like this. But having thoughts like that, where you're in a really bad spot in life and you don't want to be alive right now, is completely different than the type of trauma that we're talking about here. People that have PTSD, people that go to that ultimate length of taking their life, they're living on a level, almost a level of insanity that we can't understand. And it takes, I can tell you for myself, I've been sober most of my adult life, 19 years total now, this particular stretch, but I got sober when I was 23. It took years and years of therapy and, self-help before I finally started feeling like I was normal. So I asked Rachel, I said, so, what are we talking about here? Is this a lifelong commitment for a veteran, or, is it, does it take, is it a couple of years? So Rachel, why don't you share with everybody what you told us?
Sure. So it's one of the things that I love most about this particular model of therapy, that it is not years and years of therapy. It's actually a 12-week program. And as I said, each week there are specific things that we're doing each week to further the recovery. And oftentimes by 6 or 8 weeks, even, people are feeling a lot better, that they may not even qualify as having PTSD anymore by that point. So of course, that depends on each person, but really within the 12-week time frame, most people are recovered. And the way that it works, or the reason it works so quickly, is because often the way that we feel is because of how we think. And cognitive processing therapy really helps us change the way that we think, and therefore change the way that we feel. So for example, there may, let's say I was seeing a soldier who had lost, part of the troops that she was commanding in like a landmine that had exploded as they were going down the road. And she may think, her thoughts may be that she could have prevented it. She could have done something that would have stopped that mine from exploding, and all of her, and the people that she lost would still be alive. And so if only she had done something, things would be different. And with thoughts like that, that soldier is going to have a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, a lot of just feeling miserable that it's fault. And through the therapy, I would ask her a lot of questions about what happened and help her come to see that she really couldn't have prevented it. And when she comes to that conclusion on her own, that she really couldn't have prevented it, the feelings of, shame and guilt and that it's her fault go away, and she's left with more natural emotions like sadness and grief that she lost her friends. And while those are still painful feelings, those you're able to recover from much easier over time. And so lifting that weight of guilt and that it's my fault and I'm the one to blame really helps people recover and be able to move on with their lives and get back to their lives the way that they were before.
So, Rachel, what do you, are there some takeaways maybe that you can leave with some of our viewers here today, that, if they are suffering, or if they know somebody that's suffering, a couple of simple things that they can do for themselves? And we're going to put a link down below of how you can get a hold of Rachel. And you have also a website, Rachel, that you want to direct people to. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about that?
Sure, sure. Yes, you can read more about me on my website, which is www.tustincounseling.com. And as Barry said, he'll put that link below. But there's also some really great resources out there on cognitive processing therapy. Right on the VA website, there are many actually. So check out the links that Barry's going to post below for you. You can watch videos about it. You can see what the different sessions are like. But I guess the thing that I'd say to someone who's suffering or knows someone who's suffering is that there really is a great technique out there to help you. And this technique's actually, although it were to me, has been around for 25 years. It's an evidence-based technique. It's been researched and studied, and the outcomes are amazing. And so I know when you're feeling terrible, it seems like there is no hope. And I guess what I'm saying, what I would like to tell you is that there is hope. And so check it out. Check out the links that Barry's going to provide. Call me, talk to me. And, you know, I think we can instill that hope in you again, that things are a lot better.
I think it's also worth pointing out that you don't necessarily need to have clinical PTSD to be able to use somebody like Rachel. You know, while Rachel's talking, I'm just thinking, you know, I feel so blessed right now. I mean, I'm sitting in my home. I've been in lockdown since the beginning of March. I have food to eat. There are literally millions of people out there right now that don't have that. There are hundreds of thousands, and actually there are millions of people that have lost people due to COVID right now. There's over 300,000 people have died. You got to remember, each one of those people have several people in the family that love them for the most part, I would think. You know, you don't necessarily have to have PTSD to have the same type of symptoms that you know, from PTSD from war, to have that same types of symptoms. You could have been through something incredibly traumatic, you know, just in these last, you know, 10 months, why you might need somebody like Rachel. So, you know, if you have any kind of problems at all, I can tell you myself personally, as a friend, Rachel has helped me like an amazing amount. I mean, I am not ashamed to tell you that Rachel's been a great mentor to me and a great friend. So I highly encourage you guys to give her a call, you know, go check out her website. Rachel, thank you so much for joining us. Nick, you want to jump in, and is there anything else you'd like to say as we part with Rachel?
Absolutely. And I have to echo Barry. Rachel, it's a pleasure having you, and very thankful to have you spreading the message and further helping veterans. And for those of you out there that think it's not worth it, or it's hippy dippy or anything like that, I will say there's this sense of machismo that most of us that have served in the military have. It's okay to ask for help. The last thing in the world that anyone wants to have is to receive the same phone call that I did, frankly, last week, right? We would much rather explore all options and reach out to those that are around you. You do have someone that's willing to listen. You do have someone that's there to help. Please take the next steps in order to get yourself that help if you need that.
Rachel, thank you so much. And by the way, guys, if you haven't done so, make sure that you like the Veterans Wealth Network and share this with somebody that you think might be suffering. If it's not you, maybe it's a family member or a friend. You can also have them reach out to me or Nick. We'd love to talk to you, but ultimately we want to try and get you to contact our friend Rachel. I know that this video is going to be out there for a long time, or else I was going to say happy holidays, but you know what, if you're watching this after the holidays, I hope you had a happy holiday. And thanks again, Rachel. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks so much for having me, guys.